All right, folks, welcome back to the Crisis Report. This one is entitled Putin Ready for War. I'd like to thank our friends over on Kick and on X, which are now streaming over there. And my apologies, we've switched some things up. So I was doing the PrepperNow broadcast over on X and on Kick, and I decided to do the Crisis Report because, well, Crisis Report is more news-based, and if you look at what's going on, especially on X, people are looking more for the quick hit of news and what they're going for. PrepperNow, which was streaming here, is now streaming over on Rumble, because that's a little bit more kind of politics and culture and stuff like that. Okay. So, because of that, now we're going to be taking the PrepperNow and multi-streaming it to Rumble, but the Crisis Report is going to be done on X and on Kick, because I think it just will jibe better with what goes on both those platforms. So, that is the explainer there of why we switched things up, so we're going to start doing it that way. Appreciate y'all being here. Hit that like button, do the subscribe thing, darken up the bell if you are new here. This is the Crisis Report, especially if you're on X and Kick. And what this is a nightly broadcast of about 20 to 30 minutes where we take the news and I go all over the place. And there is a good amount tonight. And I tell you all about it. And I have affectionately called this for many years now the most comprehensive news on YouTube. And for those that do come here and get their information, they will back that up, that when you're coming here and you're getting as much of an evolved view as possible. I'm not going to only show you one side of things. That's why we have a lot here. I'm going to show you multiple sides. There's a person on Telegram, which if you can, go to Telegram and join us there, please do. Crisis Report by PrepperNow is the channel. There's a chat version of it. If you want to go there, great. But at least join up for the Crisis Report by PrepperNow. The Telegram is a great spot where I get a lot of information, but we are expanding out, okay? Also on my website, I'm doing a thought of the day, and one of those thoughts I'm going to be reading here, and basically we have infused $13.5 billion through overnight repos into the Federal Reserve. Let's just say that it was one of the biggest injections of money ever, second largest ever. And it's kind of a sign that things are not doing well financially, but we'll see. All right, well, on that note, we are here. We're brought to you by, well, thank you, Stickley. We'll see. I know you guys come and help us out. And I don't know what website that is, but we'll take a look. If you're joining here on X or Kick, we appreciate you. This is on Substack. If you want a big, basically, manuscript of what we got going on here, because we put links and everything else, so we back up what we say. And we're going to start to do it. We're going to share it right now. We're going to get started. Hit that like button, do the subscribe thing, darken out the bell. Consider becoming a member here to help us with the powers that be. And we are on X Minds, Truth, Twitter, Gab, Locals, Subscribestar, Substack. The website's got stuff going now. So we've got a good ecosphere of PrepperNow out there now, and we appreciate you being here and being a part of that. So, and it's all growing, to be honest with you. So let's keep it growing, okay? All right. This is your Crisis Report for December 2nd, 2025. Massive crowds gathered in Lebanon to see Pope Leo XIV arrive in Pope Mobile. Jury trials to be scrapped in the UK for defendants facing sentences of 3 years or less. Single judge will decide. Just turn it into AI and call it a day. The United Kingdom is a joke. Yeah, why would you want to have a trial jury of your peers? Let some judge do it, okay? He should make all the decisions. That's one of the dumbest things I think I've read all night. Irish Prime Minister welcomes Zelensky to a military-neutral Ireland. We will be with you when peace prevails to support the recovery and reconstruction of your country. Totally neutral. Michael and Susan Dell pledge $6.25 billion to help fund Trump accounts for American children. I have some thoughts on these things. They supposedly, if done right, can bring a lot of money to the children. Michael and Susan Dell are of the Dell computer family. I don't know. We'll see. It's maybe they're preempting the whole Social Security thing, as we covered here a couple nights ago. I don't know. Former EU High Representative and President of the College of Europe, Federica Mogherini, arrested in fraud investigations. RFK Jr.'s Djibouti advisors plan to vote on ending the jabination of all newborns for hepatitis B, re-examine whether these things in the childhood immunization schedule are behind a lot of things, and I'll just leave it at that. U.S. War Department on troops conducting raids in Somalia says, I can assure you, right, this is an America First Department of War and President. So we aren't conducting forever wars in Somalia. We are not seeking regime change, or, we're not nation building. So I guess we're going to have our hands full in Venezuela. Trump appears to doze off and fall asleep several times while talking to Marco Rubio as he rambled on with a monologue. Trump's right hand was also bandaged, unsure why. Trump will soon conduct land strikes on cartels and any country suspected of trafficking drugs into the U.S. Anybody that's doing that and selling it into our country is subject to attack, not just Venezuela. Trump on the Somali immigrants says when they come from hell and they complain and do nothing but bitch, we don't want them in our country. Let them go back to where they came from and fix it. It's like having your drunk uncle as the president. He just sits there and says what he feels. Former Vice President Mike Pence says Nicolas Maduro has to be pushed out of power in Venezuela. Former President Barack Obama says he still believes mainstream news does a solid job of simply presenting the facts. Yes, sir. President Trump says the United States is preparing to launch drug-targeted strikes on Venezuelan territory soon, describing the operation as far easier to carry out. Russian leader Vladimir Putin accuses Europeans of sabotaging peace efforts with unacceptable amendments to proposals. Trump says he will nominate a new Fed chair early next year. Swedish Ministry of Foreign Affairs issues an alert for its citizens, warning them against travel to Venezuela. Same thing for the Norwegian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, who now issued an alert for its citizens, asking them not to travel to Venezuela. The United States has suspended the delivery of certain weapons to Ukraine, Atlantic has reported. American officials have made it clear to their European counterparts that their plan is to return frozen Russian assets to Moscow after the signing of a peace agreement. I'm sure Europe will love that. According to a recent Gallup poll, President Trump's approval rating has hit a new low of 36%, just 25% amongst independents. Additionally, recent YouGov surveys show that 36% of Americans report their opinion of Donald Trump has worsened a lot over the past year, and 40% believe he will be remembered as a poor president, whereas, according to Rasmussen polls, he's at about 45 to 47%, depending on the day. And that is much better, and that is within the margin of error. So they're kind of seen more as a better polling company. Another regime change for the oil. Well, Trump himself announced it's clear to every person in the world the United States has decided to militarily seize. So the largest oil reserves on the planet. The difference between the Trump administration and the Biden administration is that one does not hide its imperialist ambitions. Venezuela holds the world's largest proven crude oil reserves, 303 billion barrels as of 2024. Bring huge profits to oil tycoons, the United States, as in the case of Syria, where the United States still occupies the oil fields. Putin is unlikely to want to help Maduro because it has been shown on several occasions that Putin would rather try to please the United States for a better deal in euchre than help But even if he decides to help, he won't be able to kill because the land and airspace are already blocked even for Russian aircraft and ships. It all depends on the people of Venezuela and how they will react. If they show great resistance against American imperialism, Trump could have a new Vietnam in the dense forests of Venezuela. Ground invasion would see the hell for U.S. troops. Airstrikes are not enough to occupy land. Trump is most likely counting on collaborators inside Venezuela. He is. And if the U.S. decides not to invade with boots on the ground, they will try to locate Maduro and Venezuelan leadership and will try to kill them and expect to negotiate with a new leadership. Putin, president of Russia, says if Europe wants war, we are ready. And that's where we get the title for this video. He's basically like, we're over it, we're done. You guys are going after our tankers, we're done. The magazine Trouw, T-R-O-U-W, has analyzed 60 incidents involving drones across Europe and found no evidence of Russian interference. Before us lies the most obvious psychological operation of NATO in recent history. A lot of people accusing and saying that these NATO or these drone incursions are happening because they want an excuse, and we'll leave it at that. China and Japan give conflicting accounts of confrontation around Senkaku Islands. Conflicting versions of the maritime confrontation involving the Coast Guards and Japanese fishing vessels around the disputed islands on Tuesday. The Chinese Coast Guard said the Japanese fishing vessel had illegally entered the waters of the Senkaku Islands, which Beijing calls the Diaoyu Islands, before being expelled in a statement which also claimed the islands are Chinese territory. Japan's Coast Guard is intercepting and expelled 2 Chinese Coast Guard ships. They approached the fishing vessel in the early hours of Tuesday morning. Diplomatic spat between China and Japan has intensified. Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi told Parliament on November 7th that a hypothetical Chinese attack on democratically ruled Taiwan could trigger a military response from Tokyo. Bernie Moreno, senator, introduced a bill to ban Americans from holding dual citizenship. I like it. U.S. strikes against alleged narco-terrorists have slowed considerably, with no attacks announced in 2 weeks, representing the longest lull since OPES began in early September. 3 months and 22 vessels have been destroyed, 82 killed in action, 2 survivors, 1 missing in action, presumed dead. Sudan has offered Russia a 25-year old deal that would allow Russia to have its first naval base in Africa, giving Russia a critical position overlooking the Red Sea Channel and greatly extending the operational range of its fleet. Port would allow up to 300 troops and 4 warships, including nuclear-powered ships. In exchange for a naval base, the Sudanese military would receive advanced Russian anti-aircraft systems and other weapons for preferential pricing. ECB refuses to provide backstop for a 140 billion euro deal with Ukraine. Central Bank rejected the role in European Commission proposal that would use frozen Russian assets. They are broke. So they want to go in and tap into that Russian money. And, well, to be honest with you, that's kind of a red line for Putin. And they start messing with that, then things are going to start to go sideways. All right, ECB said such a proposal is not under consideration as it would likely violate EU treaty law prohibiting monetary financing. We'll see. They can always get creative. South Front's Russo-Ukrainian war updates December 1st, 2nd. Cities of Volchansk and Pokrovsk fully captured by Russian troops. Treasury Secretary Besson says Russia has made incursions into NATO territory, but he won't help with that. Putin has started making incursions into the NATO borders. The one thing I can tell you is that the U.S. is not going to get involved with the troops of any of that. We will sell the Europeans weapons, and then the Europeans can pass them on to a certain country that begins with a U. New report by the American Institute for Science and International Security indicates that 2 major sites tied to Iran's nuclear weapons activity, the tunnel complex at Mount Esfahan and the tunnel sites at Pickaxe Mountain continue to operate even after the war from June, the 12-day war. We knew this. So, according to the report, recent months have shown increased activity in Esfahan site where, according to many assessments, significant portion of Iran's stockpile of 60% enriched uranium is stored. It's a long article. I'm not going to go through it all, but it gives a really detailed thing of all of that. It's from Iran News. So, President Trump, land strikes on drug traffickers will start soon. We're going to start doing the strikes on land. You know, the land is much easier. It is much easier. We know that routes they take, we know everything about them. We know where they live. We know where the bad ones live. We're going to start very soon to basically go after them. So, yeah. Let's see. Checking out over here on the old live strizzle. Looking good. All right, let's go. Land strikes coming. Europeans have no peace agenda and are currently hindering U.S. efforts towards a settlement, according to Putin. He said if Europe starts the war with Russia, soon there will be no one left to negotiate with. Russia is not planning to fight European countries, but if Europe starts a war, Russia is ready right now. Any country involved in drug trafficking to the U.S. is subject to attack, according to Trump. Heavy metal diplomacy. Taiwan's representative to Finland, Freddie Lim, performed his metal band Chthonic at a music festival in Helsinki with his wife joining him on guitar. He rocked out. He wasn't bad. Turkish observers report that a third attack against Russian ships has occurred in Turkey's economic zone in the Black Sea. The Mid-Volga 2 tanker carrying sunflower oil from Russia to Georgia reportedly coming under attack while sailing 80 miles off the Turkish coast. Department of War Press Secretary Kingsley Wilson welcomed the brand new press corps to the briefing room. So we welcome all the Pentagon briefing room as official new members of the Pentagon press corps. We're glad to have you. Legacy Media chose to self-deport from the building, and if you look at the numbers, it's pretty clear why no one followed them. It's funny. 6 U.S. Navy Boeing P-8 Poseidon planes spotted airborne from Florida. Pentagon Press Secretary Kingsley Wilson says the United States already has a contingency plan for the case of Maduro no longer being in charge of Venezuela. U.S. offered Maduro a chance to leave for Russia. This has spawned my video over on PrepperNow on where I think things are going in the next 72 to 96 hours. Republican Senator Markwayne Mullin said on CNN that the United States had offered Venezuelan President safe option to voluntarily leave the country. We gave him a chance. We told him he could go to Russia or any other country. He also stressed that Trump has no intention of launching a military operation. He made it clear we're not going to send troops into Venezuela. Our job is to protect our borders. Northern Ireland. Looks like the IRA is getting back together, but it's called the New Republican Movement, and it's emerged and threatened local representatives and migrants. Members of the new group are seemingly armed with a sawn-off shotgun, chopped-off double-barrel shotgun, and 2 Beretta 92 FS pattern pistols. President Trump says he will soon carry out ground attacks on cartels in Venezuela. Anybody that's doing and selling that crap is going to get another thing. You got another thing coming. You got another thing coming. Putin's talks with Wyckoff and Kushner in the Kremlin have ended after 5 hours. No compromise reached. Putin's aide, Yuri Ushakov, summed up the meeting saying that no compromises have been found so far, and meeting between the Russian and U.S. leaders is not planned at the moment. So, specific wording of the U.S. peace deal was not discussed, and they're basically pushing it off. They said the future of the economic cooperation between Russia and the United States is also being negotiated and on the table. Hundreds of Porsche owners in Russia are unable to turn their cars on because, well, they turned them off. Failure in their factory-installed satellite security system. according to reports. Rolf is one of the largest dealers in Russia. These people just went out to their car. And now you know why you don't want to own a modern car. Outage affects Porsche models, engineered engine types, and any vehicle could potentially lock itself automatically, Rolf representative told the RBC News website. Federal Reserve pumped $13.5 billion into the U.S. banking system yesterday, overnight. Repurchase agreements or repos. This is the second largest single-day liquidity injection since the Rona, occurring at the Fed officially ended its quantitative tightening program in December 1st, 2025. This action was a response to a high short-term funding demand in the banking sector, a sign of stress on the financial system. Communications Minister Anika Wells says the upcoming social media ban will apply to everybody and insists Australians, where this is talking about, should be prepared to accept the cultural impact of the policy. Representative Greg Murphy calls Maduro an illegally elected dictator, using the 1989 United States invasion of Panama as justification. Precedent for America going in and removing dictators. We did it in 1990 in Manuel Noriega in Panama. Barack Obama appointed Judge Indira Talwani was blocked President Trump from cutting Planned Parenthood funding across multiple states. President Trump says he will deliver a major address to the nation from the Oval Office tomorrow. Northern Ireland Protestants forced the pro-Palestinians to retreat. A reported observers, Sinn Féin in Belfast, made a small rally flying the Palestinian flag outside the city hall, but it was provoked of violent scenes. Arab flag has been taken down after it as well. Trump administration has officially suspended all immigration and naturalization from 19 countries: Afghanistan, Burma, Chad, Republic of Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Yemen, Burundi, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan, and Venezuela have all been cut off. President Trump endorsed Matt Van Epps. He won the special election in Tennessee's 7th Congressional District. $93,000 is what Bitcoin is worth roughly right now. Federal Reserve has officially ended quantitative tightening. You ready for inflation? OpenAI's Code Red announcement. The irony is that the announcement is that Google was the first tech giant to issue a red alert, Code Red. That was on December 21st, 2022, exactly 3 weeks after ChatGPT got announced. While Google is concerned about ChatGPT's threat, for the first time in history, total assets in U.S. money market accounts have surpassed $8 trillion. Money market funds are now paying a record $500 billion in dividends. Amazon stock, Amazon, AMZN, surges after announcing a new in-house built AI chip, which says is more cost-effective than NVIDIA's. So if that gets going, then, well, Katie barred the door on the Amazon stock. President Trump says his new Fed chair pick will be announced early next year. Bessent adds that the substantial tax funds are coming in Q1 2026, and rate cuts, tax fund refunds, and stimulus checks are all coming. K-shaped economy is broadening. U.S. consumer confidence fell 4.6 points in November to 88.7, its second lowest since December 2020, far below expectations of 93.3. Present situation index fell 4.3 points to 126.9, second lowest since 2021. Magnificent Seven stocks have rallied 300% since the launch of the ChatGPT 3 years ago. More than 4 times the S&P 500, 72% return. NASDAQ 100 has risen 120% during this period. Magnificent Seven have outperformed silver. And silver versus Bitcoin. It used to be that you could get 3,500 ounces. Well, now it's 1,458. comes as the Bitcoin to silver ratio has plunged 58% since the start of the year, when one Bitcoin could purchase 3,500 ounces. Since August, the ratio has kind of tightened a little bit. Turkey says tanker amid Volga 2 carrying sunflower oil from Russia to Georgia was attacked off the Turkish coast by drones. Ukraine denied any involvement. And more than 1,300 people confirmed dead and 800 missing in Asia floods, while raccoons are now in Virginia liquor stores getting drunk. Crazy. Had to take a moment for that one. Friends, that's your crisis report for December 2nd, 2025. Appreciate you being here. Hit that like button, do the subscribe thing, darken up the bell. Join us on all the other platforms like Twitter, Mine, Gab, Truth Social, X, all those. Subscribe to our locals. Substack. Yep, good places. Go to the website, see the thought of the day. Check it out. Check out PrepperNow. We are brought to you by Augusta Precious Metals because they are a Better Business Bureau backed and a great company to work with. Partner with them. If you want to put your gold and silver, or excuse me, your IRA or 401k into gold and silver, this is the company to do it. So, informative in the description. Other than that, friends, we appreciate you being here. Okay? Hit that like button, do the subscribe thing, darken up the bell, and we will see you on the next one. God bless and have a great night.